I'm sure many of you have been watching the news and are aware of the escalation that's going on, where the UK and the United States gave the green light for basically NATO forces to strike Russia with the type of missiles that can carry nuclear warheads. The Russians, in response, hit a factory in Ukraine and did it with precision, and they did it with hypersonic missiles. And it was a message to say, hey, we can strike you too, and we could do it in a way that you can't do anything about it. You don't have the technical means to defend against a hypersonic missile, and we can do it with precision. So the UK and the United States is escalating this conflict, and the Russians are clearly being defensive. They're saying they're sending out messages. They're retaliating and doing it in such a way that it's a message. Okay, so the question is why? Now, the only explanation that comes to my mind is that the American elite and the British elite, the Anglo-American elite, want to escalate the conflict to fortify the American empire. Donald Trump, in his first term, demonstrated that he was willing to sacrifice the American empire for the benefit of the American citizens. We had the Bretton Woods system post-World War II, where the U.S. dollar was a world reserve currency, and all the countries were basically centered around the United States. They used the American economy to uplift their economies after World War II, and all the currencies were pegged to the U.S. dollar. And that's been falling apart for several reasons. First of all, there's not a Soviet Union, so the aim of such a system, aside from trying to create a world government, doesn't really have any meaning, doesn't have a purpose. Obviously, that's what the elites want to do. They want to create a world government so that powerful people can have more power. But that aside, Donald Trump started to dismantle that system by doing things that the elite did not want to do. They did not want trade deals that benefited American people. The current administration, the Biden administration, has demonstrated that they are a government for and of the special interests. They, for example, slowed down the development of fracking and even stopped some of the fracking that was going on in the Midwest. These are small companies, small and medium-sized companies that are doing it. The big oil companies, obviously, they don't want to compete with these companies because the big oil companies, they go for the big paydays, the big oil fields in the Middle East, in Siberia, in Nigeria, the Gulf of Mexico. They don't go to these smaller fields out in the Midwest. And of course, having cheap fuel, well, that benefits the American people, right? It gives people upward mobility. People in power don't seem to like that too much. So the Biden administration, the special interests, have demonstrated that they are willing to sacrifice the American people to fortify the American empire. Okay, so and it's a mislabel to call it American empire. It's an elitist empire, which they use the United States for their elitist empire. So when we look at Ukraine, when we're looking at that conflict, and we see that it's been escalated, as Joe Biden is now a lame duck president, we have to ask ourselves, is there any other possibility, any other possible reason for the escalation other than fortifying the American empire? And there's only one other one I can think of, and that is that the elite, there's also a nihilistic strain in their ideology. Nihilism as in they have this moral relativism, or at least that's what they promote for the public, for the general public. They want moral relativism to attack reason itself and attack morality itself. It is to say that there is no morals, there is no reason, to disempower the individual, to cause individuals to disintegrate from reality. that works closely with the Marxism that you see, especially on the left, but you see this on the right as well, where, for example, affirmative action, where we don't reward the best performers. They reward people based on some other attribute to supposedly make things more equitable, right? Um, Not equitable in terms of um, ability, but rather what the result is, regardless of the performance. And we could see how destructive that is, right? So you carry that philosophy onward, that nihilism, and you can start to see the possibility that they may actually want to start a World War III, a thermonuclear war. If you don't attribute value to anything, when you have this moral relativism, you don't really care about anything else. And I even question how much they even care about themselves. So these are very dangerous people. They're very dangerous, and at the very least, they're causing a problem for Donald Trump. They may even be trying to do this so that Donald Trump walks into a situation that he can't stop to handicap his presidency. So, I'm tempted to write my congressman. In fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write my congressman, and I'm going to say, hey, he's a lame duck president. He should not have the power to escalate a proxy conflict with a major nuclear power. There has to be some kind of brakes that we need to put onto this. Say, hey, you can't do this. At least bring it to the public's attention. So at least when people see the conflict, they say it was the elitists that created this and not Donald Trump, not the American people, not the Russian people, although the Russian government is by no means perfect. But nonetheless, in this case, they're actually acting defensively. So anyway, I'll put a link in the description below of a news article that I'm referring to, so you can read it. But I'm sure a lot of you already know about it anyway. But anyway, it's to fortify the American empire, and I would be very cautious or very concerned about the nihilistic streak that the elitists have.